Hey, folks, this clip is brought to you by Rattle and Snap Tennessee Straight Whiskey from Log Still Distillery. Make your own luck just like Tennessee football's fast paced Rattle and Snap offense with Rattle and Snap Tennessee Whiskey. Now, Heupel was on 104.5 The Zone this morning with Ramon, Kayla, and Will. Two-time Big Orange podcast veteran Ramon Foster was talking to Coach Hype this morning, and you pulled out an interesting quote and wrote about it on A to Z Sports.com's Zach, where he was talking about Joe Milton, Nico, Iamaleava. What was the gist of that, Zach?
He was asked how the relationship between them's been, how that dynamic has been, and he pointed out that Joe Milton has been helping Nico out a lot. He's been, kind of showing him what to do on the field as well as off the field, how to be a pro in the building. And that's huge, I think, for Nico, because you can come into a young quarterback room maybe and you don't learn how to prepare the right way. And Nico's an incredibly mature kid, but he's never been a college quarterback before. Like, he doesn't know the process. He knows it from a high school level. He doesn't know it from a collegiate level. So to have a guy like Joe Milton, who's been at Michigan, he's now entering his third year at Tennessee, which is hard to believe that he will have been at Tennessee 3 years by the time it's all said and done. Had been in Heupel's system, 2 full years. He knows everything. He knows how to help this kid hit the ground running, and it sounds like he's been more than willing to do that. And most importantly, like, that's the culture in that room. And that's kind of what Heupel talked about during that interview, is that's the culture that he wants. Like, it's not just happenstance that Hendon Hooker and Joe Milton got along so well. And that wasn't just like, oh man, that's great to see. Like, that's what Heupel wants. Like, he wants healthy competition. And that's hard to create, but he managed to do it quickly. And he managed to do it in year one with a very awkward situation between Milton and, or what could have been an awkward situation between Milton and Hooker. So that's all by design, having that culture and having that kind of relationship where it really is a team family type mindset. I mean, you can say you want that. I think every program probably says they want that, but very few are actually able to create it and cultivate it. And Josh Heupel has been able to, because he's made it a focus. But I've noticed every time he gets asked about Nico, he's very, Heupel's very, he praises Nico. He's very complimentary of him. You can tell he's really excited, but he makes sure not to forget about Joe Milton. Every single interview, he'll talk about Nico and he'll say, but also, don't forget about Joe Milton. This guy has a lot of growth left in him too. He's not, his best football's ahead of him. He makes sure that Joe Milton's not getting overlooked just because Nico's there, which could easily happen. And that could create some animosity too. So part of the reason that culture has been so strong in the quarterback room is because of the way Josh Heupel has publicly handled the situation between Hendon Hooker and Joe Milton, between other quarterbacks, and the way that he talks about them to the media and probably to coaches and staff and conversations that we don't see. So that, I mean, it's just another aspect of this program that's really strong. It's a really great sign for the future. Obviously, there might be some hiccups down the road. Who knows? But that's also an example of how Heupel tries to bring the right people into the program. It's why we have not seen him go crazy with transfer additions and just adding anybody, because not everybody's a fit. And there might be a guy that Tennessee passes on that ends up having a great year somewhere else. Maybe they pass on a guy and that guy goes to Ole Miss and has a tremendous year, and you're like, well, why did Tennessee pass on him? Well, maybe he wouldn't have been a good fit at Tennessee. Maybe he would have came to Tennessee and that whole position room would have fell apart. Like, you never know how that would turn out. And that's not to give Heupel an excuse for missing on a guy, because he will miss on some guys that maybe Tennessee should have got. Like, that's going to happen. It probably already has happened. But for the most part, I think that's the design there. You want to bring people in that contribute to the culture, not that you have to hope fit into it. And that's obviously really important to him, and a big reason why the program's having success. I mean, it's a unique place right now, Tennessee. It's not just the offense. It's the way the whole building's ran. It's the way that he makes promotions, going from analyst to offensive coordinator eventually. It's all those things working together, and it's been fun to see. It's a welcome change compared to what we have seen the last 10 years.
All right, folks, we are deep into winter now, and let me tell you, there's nothing better that goes along with a chilly night here in the great state of Tennessee than an equally great whiskey. And more specifically, I'm talking about Rattle and Snap Tennessee Select Straight Whiskey. Log Still Distillery has released a new Tennessee whiskey product line called Rattle and Snap Tennessee Whiskey, named after a long forgotten game of chance. Rattle and Snap is a whiskey for those that make their own luck. There's a 4-year and an 8-year version of Rattle and Snap whiskey, and I even have, I can get it right here. I have the 8-year version with me. I've had both. I have both just in this house. But this is the 8-year. That's what it looks like. Beautiful, beautiful label. Even beautifuler and even more beautiful whiskey in the actual bottle itself. But you can find Rattle and Snap whiskey right now in stores across the state of Tennessee. And Rattle and Snap is also available in Kentucky, Indiana, and Mississippi. Run and don't walk to go get yourself some Rattle and Snap whiskey for these cold winter nights, and follow Rattle and Snap on Instagram at Rattle and Snap Whiskey. Rattle and Snap Tennessee whiskey. There you go. There it is. I'm absolutely fascinated by the fact that in a time where hopping around to different schools has become so commonplace for players, that Josh Heupel has found a way to keep a guy like Joe Milton with a cannon of an arm. I mean, think about how many schools at Power 5 and non-Power 5 in D1 football that he would probably start out right now. And he sat on the bench all last year behind a potential Heisman candidate, but still sat on the bench and just got better and got more ingrained in the culture, became even more of a leader, became even more vocal. I mean, you go back during the season, like one of the striking things that I remember seeing from Joe Milton was that after the Alabama game, obviously they released that video of the "We don't give a damn about the whole state of Alabama." Who was the guy leading that chant? It was Joe Milton. It wasn't Hendon Hooker went out there and won that football game, and the guy leading the chant in the locker room was Joe Milton. Like, there's fascinating stuff like that. That is incredible. And in the time of college football that we're living in currently, that he has engendered that kind of culture. And I think it comes with having the right kids in the program, like Joe Milton. Just not every single kid is going to do that. But seeing that outside looking in, and then hearing Heupel talk about how Joe Milton is taking Nico under his wing, that it just warms my heart. It's absolutely perfect. And I really, really, really hope that this season does not end up becoming something unfortunate, like Milton gets hurt and Nico is pressed into service suddenly, and just the lights are too big and he has a bad first impression playing football. I want him to get his feet set, because I think the kid is really, really special, and everybody who's ever watched him play in person says that same thing. And I think I want him to get in and learn and really take in from Joe Milton that mentality, on top of the good mentality that seems like Nico already has. Because I think it's a great formula. I think what they're building in that quarterback room and with this Tennessee offense is just honestly like insanely good. Obviously you were the number one offense in America this past season. That you don't have to say much more than that. But to continue it into the future with a guy who has been there for you and been reliable for you this whole time, despite the fact that he could have transferred elsewhere. Like, it just, I love it so much. And it says a ton about Josh Heupel. It says a ton about Joe Milton, and it says some about Nico too. And I'm excited about it. I think it's awesome.
Yeah, Nico's been more than willing to. I mean, he wants to compete. He wants to start. He's a competitor, of course, but he's also happy to play whatever role he's supposed to play. And he's been pretty vocal about that back when he was at the Polynesian Bowl after the Orange Bowl last month. I think in a perfect world, the plan for Tennessee, obviously you want Joe Milton to go out there and start 15 games, right? You want to go to the college football playoff with Joe Milton and gets to the championship game, and he starts every single game. And within that, you kind of hope it's a setup like last season, minus the Hooker injury, where you have big leads in games and you can get Nico in there late in the third quarter, early in the fourth quarter. I mean, we saw times last year where Tennessee, the UT Martin game, they went all the way to their fourth string quarterback because they were able to get so many guys in. You hope that's the situation this season. You get out to a big lead, you go beat Virginia, and you're up, 40 points late in the third quarter, and you can put Nico in and let him play a few series. You can put Gaston Moore in, or the walk-on that they signed last month. And that's the great scenario. And some people might say that they want Nico to redshirt. I don't think that should even be the mindset at all, because here's the thing. If Nico is as advertised, after 2025, he'll be going to the NFL, regardless of whether or not he redshirted this year or not. Yep. I mean, it'd be just like Johnny Manziel, who went after a redshirt sophomore year, I believe. Jameis Winston, I think, was a redshirt sophomore when he left for the NFL. It'd be that same situation. So redshirt sophomore, junior, either way, you hope he goes after 2025, unless he just has like this strong desire to be like Peyton Manning. I mean, maybe I know Nico is a huge San Francisco 49ers fan, so maybe one of the 49ers big rivals, maybe the Rams or the Seahawks or the Raiders or somebody's, got the number one pick that season and he doesn't want to go play for them and decides he wants to come back. Kind of like Andrew Luck did that
Maybe.
1 year. But outside of something like that happening, you hope that he goes to the NFL after 2025. So I'd be just fine with seeing him play in 10, 11 games this year in garbage time.
100%. I just want him to get that perfect setup, because I just think he's a special enough kid that if you can really bring him up the right way through the system, you could really develop. I mean, like, it's a guy that's the best quarterback in America. I think. Hope, like, the top end of his ability is that at some point during his career at Tennessee, he will be considered the best quarterback in America in college football. So it's delicate, but also I think they got the right guys in the building, hopefully, to do that. Because I just think back. Obviously, I went to the University of Tennessee for too damn long, frankly. They have quite a bit of my money over there. But that first week when you show up, that first month when you're there going to college, like, it's daunting. And especially for a kid who's moving, I was from Knoxville and it was daunting. Just not, you're not living in your parents' house and he's living 1,000 miles away from his parents' house in California. And to have a guy like Joe Milton come and kind of be that leading figure that can show him the way, I think it's amazing. So hopefully that continues and it's as good of a situation as it sounds like from the outside, and we can see the best case scenario unfold for that quarterback room, because I think they really, if everything, like, please, everyone pray for Joe Milton's health, pray for Joe Milton's development, because if he can stay healthy and he can win you a bunch of football games, the next guy up could be the guy. Joe Milton could be the guy, that's, frankly, to finally take Tennessee to the promised land. But I think Nico, at least, it looks like his skill set is right there with the best in America.
Yeah, it wouldn't be bad to have a like Peyton Manning, T. Martin, Casey Clausen situation with Hooker, Milton, and Nico.
Yeah, I will take that every day of the week. A national championship and near national championships and years after.